Good afternoon, everyone. In Bermuda, I simply wanted to take the opportunity to recap over the events of today. We had two marches on the House of Assembly, and I recognize and am encouraged by the fact that people did come out to exercise that democratic right. It's very important that we have these opportunities to listen to the people of Bermuda and their concerns. And respectfully, I must say that Mr. Holdup came up with a few of his members that was concerned about the work permit policy, and we also had concerned Bermudians who Marilyn Otterbridge, who I've become friends with over some period of time now. We engaged in dialogue before today, and of course we had the opportunity amongst the members of the public outside of the House of Assembly to re-engage this issue and challenge with term limits. Let me start out with the onset that I recognize the fears that Bermuda are feeling right now, probably more so than anyone else. Because as I continue to walk about Bermuda and continue to talk to concerned Bermudians, it is very evident that they want to get back to work. We have far too many Bermudians that are unemployed at this time. I've just looked at some statistics as of December 2012 that says that 12% of our working population is unemployed. That is extremely, extremely high. And so I recognize with what was taking place today, there was a lot of noise and it was difficult to hear me respond today. I recognize that as being a healthy fear. People want to get back to work. People want to know that there are some opportunities out there for them. And so it is up to me as the Premier of this country to ensure that I instruct all ministers that everything that they do has to be about getting jobs, number one, back on the table. And so I've done that. And so it is our priority that Bermuda get back to work. And one of those areas that we felt needed strengthening was the work permit policy. You will know that when we put it out, it was a draft work permit policy, and we were being transparent. We wanted to ensure that Bermuda had the opportunity to see what we had put together, and that was listening to the stakeholders of Bermuda and to put it out there for a response by March the 8th. And so we have listened, and we will continue to listen and look for responses. Today was an opportunity for the public also to come to the House of Assembly and to respond, and so they did. And so we will likewise respond in that manner in ensuring that the voices of Bermuda are heard. But I need you to understand, Bermuda, that the priority has to be about getting Bermuda back to work, and we must be decisive. We cannot no longer let another day go by without creating jobs. People are hungry. People cannot find work, can't pay their mortgages, can't pay their rent, are unable to feed their kids. And that's why I recognize that we must be decisive. This government, I as your Premier, will look at all of the variables involved and will always put you first. The idea of looking at everything is to be decisive once we have taken a look at all those variables, and that is what we will continue to do as we move forward. Jobs have to get back on the table. And so when we start talking about term limits, and one of the factors that was influencing international business to leave the country, it became very clear as we became government and we looked at the, all of the counsel that had been given to our predecessors, the former government, PLP, it was very evident that the term limits was overkill, and it had created an atmosphere that the international business felt that Bermuda was not welcome. Since term limits, if you look at the stats, you will know that the number of Bermudians in the workforce has continued to decline from 2000. And this is important for Bermuda to understand. We have to reverse that tide. Bermuda needs to get back to work. And so that's why we have done away with term limits. It was an inhibitor to creating jobs. It is very important, Bermuda, for you to understand that the only reason we have a Bermuda dollar is because there is a foreign investment US dollar that comes in one pocket that allows us to pull out a Bermuda dollar bill to present and to be able to spend in this island. So we have to get those job creators and those investors interested back again in Bermuda. you will know that they have been going to other jurisdictions because Bermuda was felt to be not as competitive and friendly. This is coming from Bermuda First Group, who put out a report, who had been talking to the international community, reporting these things. So all of that information has been available. Again, once we took a look at the information council that had been given, it was very clear we needed to turn back on the term limit policy that had been put out. Now, I also want to say this here, that the work permit policy that is in existence today is enough to ensure that foreigners who are here in this island do not feel that they have the right to live here forever. The work permit policy that we have today, if implemented in its fullest degree, really and truly will safeguard Bermudians and ensure that Bermudians get priority first to jobs that are available here in this country. It is very interesting as I look over the last few years and the number of expats that exist in the island, and of course Bermuda. I too am concerned because when I look out, I see that there are many jobs that Bermudians could be doing that I believe that we do have foreigners doing. Well, that is because we have not been working with the work permit policy in its fullest degree. And so I concur with you that there should be some concern, but I do not want you to fall in the category of fear. We are going to work through this. This OBA government, I as your premier have acquired this from our predecessors, from a former government, the PLP government. But we will take ownership of this here, and we will work diligently to ensure that Bermudians are always put first and that we do not leave anyone behind. That is our goal, and we will accomplish that this year. And so with that in mind, I'll take any questions that you have, and I apologize again for my hoarseness of voice. You know, when you have gone into a home and you see the fear in someone's eyes and you see the frustration, many times when people are speaking out loudly, it may not be directed necessarily to you as an individual, but what they are trying to express is an imminent urgency of now. And so some people may have been surprised by it. I certainly was not necessarily surprised, but I do recognize that there is a healthy fear out there that Bermudians want to get back to work. And so sometimes, you know, that anticipation, that urgency may cause a bit of noise, and it became difficult, yes, for you to hear me. But I do understand it very clearly. I do. We have to move decisively, and that's why what I'm saying. The key here is that Bermuda, we must move decisively, because another day is another day held back where someone is unable to pay their bills and unable to feed their families. And so what we have been looking at is investors that are looking to invest in the country in construction, building hotels. We are moving feverishly as we speak. The reason I developed the Economic Development Committee was to streamline processes so that we can get investors back again in the island, investing money in construction and the likes, so that Bermudians can once again get back to work and start realizing their dreams. It's not going to happen overnight. We didn't get here overnight. But I do recognize there has to be an urgency of now on behalf of this government. And so that's why we're putting in the long hours. That's why the hoarse voice, because we must move with a decisiveness, and we must move with an urgency. And so I say to all of you Bermudians who have, to this day, are continuing to be unemployed, as I've been told before, help is on the way. We are working diligently on your behalf, and I am looking forward to later on this year being able to say we have gotten hundreds of Bermudians back to work. There are several projects that are in play right now as we speak that will be coming online, and we'll be letting you know about those in forthcoming time. And I, you know, when I heard that the word xenophobia had come up, and I recognize that that is not a word that should be placed in politics, especially with the people of Bermuda, who are such a melting pot of people. And so I apologize for that word being used, and we will continue to ensure that our elected members avoid from using those words like xenophobia. It is a fear of foreigners, but we need not fear foreigners. That is a relationship that we have forged from day one. In fact, if you just go back with yourselves, Bermuda, one generation, two generations, we all basically were imported to Bermuda. So it is important that we find a way to work together. because that's how we have survived in the past, and that's how we will continue economically to show our force as a leading economic power in the world, because we know how to forge relationships with others who want to invest in this island.